going to read the total war text together. We're going to focus on the main text, okay? We might read the little box at the end, see how long it takes, but we're focusing on the main paragraphs, alright? And I want to hear you reading. You know, at home you should be reading along as well. Alright, you ready? So, total war. Britain joined World War II in September 1939, when it declared war on Germany, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Poland, and other countries fought with Britain against Germany and, later, against Italy. In 1941, the USSR and the USA joined the war on the same side as Britain. Japan joined the side of Germany and Italy. This spread the fighting right around the world. The war finally ended in 1945. World War II took place on land, at sea, and in the air. Bombs dropped by enemy aircraft during air raids destroyed millions of homes and killed and injured many thousands of people. Everyone's home might be in the front line. This is why we say the war was fought on the home front as well as the battlefront. World War II was a total war. This means that the warring countries did everything they could to win. Every person, every factory, and every field was needed for the war effort. The manufacture of non-essential foods and goods, such as chocolate and fine clothes, was cut back and they became very difficult to obtain. In 1939, 2/3 of Britain's food and many of industry's raw materials, oil and aluminium for example, came from abroad. The enemy sank thousands of ships bringing these supplies to Britain, which led to severe shortages. The government coped with these problems in two ways. First, it encouraged more food and raw materials to be produced at home. Second, it cut back on the food and goods people could buy. The most important way of doing this was by rationing. Let's read the little bit underneath. Luxuries were difficult to obtain during the war. On 16 November 1940, the Daily Herald listed a whole range of items that its readers would probably have to do without. Let's read it. Luxuries you must now do without includes gloves, lace, furs, mattresses, corsets, carpets, linoleum, pottery, glass, office furniture, cutlery, cameras, musical instruments, sports goods, toys, fancy goods, fountain pens, umbrellas. Let's read the little, do you want to read this beside the path to war? So the path to war. Adolf Hitler became leader of Germany in 1933. Do you know where I'm reading? The little bit in the side, so joining as well, just on the first sentence. Backed by his Nazi party, he removed those who were against him and began taking over neighbouring countries. After Germany took over Czechoslovakia, Britain and France promised other countries that they would oppose Nazi aggression if the Germans attacked anyone else. On the 1st of September 1939, Hitler invaded Poland. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war on Germany. Does that explain this? We were talking a bit earlier about the sort of the process of how Hitler was in charge of this Nazi party. That there explains a bit about how it happened a bit more, didn't it? Right, we're going to do some quick fire SATS style questions. These aren't actually questions that are in the SATs because these are based on World War II, which we're doing now, which aren't normally in the SATs. It's going to flick on and flick off. I should have had it on ready. Okay, so it says, according to the text, where did World War II take place? And you've got 4 choices. In France, Belgium, the Netherlands and Poland, on land, at sea and in the air, on the front line, on the home front. According to the text, so this is what is in the text. You need to be able to tell me where it is. Where did World War II take place?
On the second.
Number 2? On land, at sea and in the air. Do we agree?
Yeah.
Yes. Because actually, it did happen in France, Belgium, Netherlands and Poland, but that wasn't the whole of it, was it? That was only a small part of it. So well done, really well done. That's one that kind of always tricks you because it is kind of right but not actually answering the question. And I have now managed to turn my board off being interactive. There we go. Okay, how did the government cope with the problems caused by shortages of supplies? And it says give 2 ways. So tell me 2 separate things the government did to cope with the problems. And this word cope, I remember reading that, coping. In fact, I'm looking at the last paragraph, so I can see it says the government coped. So for me, that would be help me find whereabouts in the text the answer is without me having to read the entire text again. It might not all be in there, but at least it's signposting me to where I need to start looking. Tell me one way.
By rationing.
By rationing. Okay. But, okay. Can you see this says first and second on that paragraph?
Oh, yeah.
What I would say the answer is those 2 points.
Yeah.
So you're right by rationing, but the rationing was done in 2 different ways, wasn't it? So the rationing is kind of the overall thing. So what's one of the ways? What's the first way? Go on, you tell me.
The first, it
Encouraged.
encourages more food and raw materials to be
Produce.
produced at home.
So, no, wait, the first way, number 1 would be it encouraged people to grow their own food. Basically, produce their own raw materials. That was all about, dig for victory and all that, that's that part. So what's way number 2? So it says second. What was second?
It says cut back on food and goods people could buy. The most important one.
Do this was by rationing. Yes, that's where the rationing comes in. Because can you see that kind of links to that second one? So it cut back on the food and goods people could buy. That was the rationing. All right, but probably the answer would want you to be a bit more specific. If you just wrote rationing as one of your reasons, it might want more of an answer. So it's always worth putting a little bit more in there. Okay, so last job. We are going to learn to summarise. Okay, this is a bit, when you're writing your conclusion, your conclusion is a summary of all you've written about, isn't it? The introduction tells everyone what you're going to write about. Then you write about it, and the conclusion tells everyone what you've already written about in a summary. Okay? We talk about this a lot, so it seems a bit weird, but it does make sense. You briefly introduce, you talk about it in detail, then you summarise at the end. So we're going to have a go at summarising, not the plan, this total war text in 50 words. Okay? So this is going to be very much about you finding the important information. So you know when we were researching and you were making notes on your research, it was all about pulling out key information. It's all about pulling out key information, yeah? So you are going to, you've got highlights in here, if you've not got highlights at home, pet colour and pencil, highlight the key information, what you think is important, and then that is what we're going to use to make a summary in 50 words. But it does have to make sense. It's not just 50 words individually, it's when you've written your paragraph, your summary paragraph, it's only can be 50 words in total. So that includes all the a's, the ands, its and the buts. Okay? Does that make sense? Right, off we go.